My sister walked into my divorce settlement wearing my anniversary necklace. She sat beside my husband, crossed her legs like she owned the chair, and smiled at me across the conference table. "Don't worry, Mara," she said. "I'll take better care of Ethan than you did. At least I know how to stay faithful." Then she slid a $20 bill toward me with 2 red nails. "Call your lover for a ride home." My mother looked at the floor. Ethan, the man who once said my honesty was the safest place he had ever lived, would not look at me at all. My sister touched the necklace at her throat, the one my grandmother left to me, and waited for me to break. I did not break. My lawyer, Iris Klein, placed one black folder on the table. She did not open it at first. She only rested her palm on the cover and said, "Before anyone discusses settlement numbers, we need to discuss the phone report." My sister's smile froze. Ethan finally looked up. They thought I had come to lose the house, the marriage, the savings, and my name. They had no idea I had come with the one thing my family had always underestimated: receipts. My name is Mara Bell. I was 34 years old on the morning my divorce settlement became the day my sister stopped being the victim in her own lie. I woke up at 5:16 in a rental apartment above a laundromat in East Nashville, 47 days after Ethan moved our bed into the guest room and told me he needed space from my betrayal. Not his betrayal, mine. That was the story by then. I made coffee in a chipped mug that said Music City Marathon, even though I have never run anything longer than a parking lot during rain. I stood barefoot on cold kitchen tile and read the sticky note I had taped above the sink. "Do not defend. Let the report speak." I had written it at midnight, after reading the forensic summary for the 5th time. Even then, my body wanted to prepare a speech. Trauma is funny like that. You can have a legal report, timestamp logs, payment traces, a sworn affidavit, and still feel the need to explain yourself like a teenager caught after curfew. I put on a navy dress, the one Iris told me looked calm without looking weak. I pinned my hair back. I wore no necklace. The space at my throat felt bare because my grandmother's necklace had been gone for 6 weeks. Ethan said he put it in a safe place while we divided property. Then my sister wore it in a photo from his kitchen. I stared at that empty space in the mirror for a long time. The necklace was not expensive in the way jewelers care about. A small oval garnet in a gold setting, old enough that the clasp fought back every time I wore it. My grandmother Alice had given it to me the year she died. She pressed it into my palm and said, "Some women inherit houses, some inherit warnings. I am giving you both if you learn to listen." I had laughed then. I was 22 and still believed warnings arrived loudly. They do not. Sometimes a warning arrives as your younger sister asking too many questions about your husband's passwords. Sometimes it arrives as your mother saying, "Celeste is lonely, be kind." Sometimes it arrives as your husband believing screenshots faster than he believed 7 years of marriage. My lawyer's office was downtown, 7th floor, glass walls, polished walnut table, the kind of place where people speak softly while destroying lives by claws. I drove there without music. My phone buzzed 3 times on the passenger seat. Ethan, my mother, unknown number. I did not touch it. When I parked, Iris was waiting by the elevators with a black leather tote and the expression of a woman who had already sharpened every word she needed. She looked at my throat first, then at my eyes. "She wore it?" she asked. "Yes," Iris nodded. "Good." I almost laughed. "Good? Good for the record," she said. "Terrible for the soul, but excellent for the record. To understand how we got there, you need to understand Celeste. My sister is 3 years younger than me. Beautiful in a way that made adults forgive her before she finished lying. Big eyes, soft voice, panic that turned into charm whenever consequences came close. Growing up, she did not break rules. Rules broke themselves around Celeste. If she missed curfew, Mom said she must have lost track of time because she was sensitive. If she failed a class, the teacher hated confident girls. If she stole my clothes, I should be flattered because she admired me. If she cried, the house moved toward her. If I cried, Mom said, "Mara, please do not make this worse." My father died when I was 17. Heart attack in the garage while changing a tire. After that, the house reorganized itself around my mother's grief and Celeste's needs. I got a part-time job at a pharmacy. I learned to cook cheap dinners. I drove Celeste to school. I filled insurance forms. I became what people praised as strong because nobody wanted to say useful. Celeste became fragile. Fragile got rides, fragile got extensions, fragile got forgivens, strong got errands. I loved her anyway. That is the part people forget. Boundaries do not always begin with hate. Most of mine began with love that had been asked to carry too much furniture. I met Ethan Rowe at a legal technology conference in Atlanta when I was 27. I worked in compliance for a healthcare software company. He was a product designer for a firm that made secure messaging tools for hospitals. He had kind hands, terrible handwriting, and the habit of looking directly at people when they spoke, which felt almost dangerous to someone raised in a house where listening usually meant gathering ammunition. Our first conversation was about consent forms and bad hotel coffee. Our second was about dogs. Our third lasted 4 hours and ended with him walking me to an elevator neither of us wanted to enter. He called 2 days later, not texted, called. I remember that because Celeste saw his name on my phone and said, "A man who calls?" Look at you, landing vintage. She was 24 then, working part-time at a boutique and full-time at becoming visible online. She had just started posting lifestyle videos. Thrift flips, skincare, soft morning routines filmed at noon. She was funny, magnetic, and impossible to dislike until you were the person paying for the ring light. Ethan met my family 3 months after we started dating. My mother liked him immediately. Celeste liked him too much. She hugged him longer than necessary and said, "Mara never brings home men this handsome." We were worried. Everyone laughed. I laughed too, because at the time I thought humiliation wrapped in charm was harmless. Ethan and I married on October 8, 2021, at a restored train depot outside Franklin. Small wedding, white lights, barbecue buffet, my grandmother's garnet around my neck. Celeste was maid of honor because my mother said excluding her would create a wound. She gave a speech that sounded sweet if you did not know how to translate it. "Mara has always been the serious one," she said, glass lifted. "She plans, controls, checks every detail. Ethan, thank you for teaching her that love can be spontaneous. And if she ever gets too strict, call me. I'll remind you how to have fun." Guests laughed. Ethan laughed. I smiled because the photographer was facing me. During our first dance, Ethan whispered, "Ignore her. I married the serious one on purpose." That sentence carried me for years. Our marriage was not perfect, but it was real. We had a house in Sylvan Park with uneven floors and a lemon tree in a pot that refused to grow. We split chores. We fought about thermostat settings and his habit of leaving cabinet doors open. We saved for a trip to Portugal. We talked about children vaguely, carefully, like people placing glass on a high shelf. Celeste floated in and out. After every breakup, she stayed in our guest room for a few days. After every job loss, Ethan helped update her resume. After every crisis, my mother called me and said, "Can you just be generous? She looks up to you." I used to believe that. Now I think Celeste did look up to me, the way a thief looks up at a window before choosing where to climb. The first strange message appeared in June of 2025. Ethan was in the shower, his phone lit up on the counter while I brushed my teeth. The preview showed my sister's name. "Do you ever wonder if Mara settled for you?" I stared at it until the screen went dark. When Ethan came out, I asked him. He looked confused, then irritated at Celeste, not me. He opened the thread. The message was gone. Celeste had deleted it on her end? That made no sense. But Ethan shrugged and said she probably sent something meant for a friend. He texted her, "Wrong person?" She replied with laughing emojis and said, "Omgi, ignore me, wine night." I wanted to call her. Ethan said not to make it a thing. That phrase, "make it a thing." I have learned that when someone asks you not to make it a thing, there is usually already a thing. Over the next 3 months, Celeste became softer toward Ethan and sharper toward me. She complimented his work. She sent him articles about design. She asked for advice about men who never existed. She came over when I was working late and left before I got home. She brought him soup when he had a cold. My mother praised her for helping. "Celeste is finally growing up," Mom said. "Can't you be happy for her?" I was happy for her until my husband began saying things like, "Maybe she just needs people to trust her," and looking at me as if I had been withholding oxygen from the family. The affair accusation began with screenshots. Ethan showed them to me on a Thursday night in October. I remember the date because I had spent that day preparing for a security audit at work. which is a grim little irony the universe did not need to include. He'd stood in the kitchen, phone in hand, face gray. "Who is Marcus?" I blinked. "Who?" He turned the phone toward me. On the screen were texts between someone saved as Mara and someone named Marcus the Fee. The bubbles were intimate, suggestive, humiliating in how perfectly they mimicked the language of a lazy affair. "Can't wait to see you. Ethan still doesn't suspect. Last night was worth the risk. Same hotel next week?" My stomach dropped. That is not me. Ethan's laugh broke in the middle. "It is your number. It is not my phone. It is your number. Mara." He had received the screenshots from Celeste. She claimed a friend had recognized me with a man at a hotel bar and sent the messages because women deserve truth. Celeste had cried when she gave them to him. Of course she had. Tears were her letterhead. I reached for his phone. He pulled it back. That movement told me more than the screenshots did. He had already decided the evidence belonged to him, not to us. I asked him to check my phone. He refused at first, saying cheaters delete things. I said, "Then let's do it together, right now." I handed him my phone unlocked. No Marcus, no deleted thread, no hotel photos, no suspicious calls. Nothing. For 1 second, I saw doubt. Then he said, "You are good with systems." That hurt more than shouting. He took the part of me that had built our stability, my carefulness, my records, my competence, and turned it into proof I could hide a crime. I said, "Who benefits from you believing this?" He looked disgusted. "Do not blame Celeste." I had not said her name. He slept in the guest room that night. By morning, my mother had called twice. Celeste sent one text. "I'm sorry he found out this way. I know you'll hate me, but I had to protect him. Protect him. From me." Within a week, Ethan moved out. Within 2, he was staying at Celeste's apartment temporarily, according to my mother, who spoke like she was reading from a hostage note. By Thanksgiving, Celeste posted a photo of 2 coffee mugs on her balcony with the caption, "Some people find truth late, but still find it." People commented hearts. I blocked her after that. But blocking someone does not block the story they are spreading through rooms you used to belong to. My mother chose Celeste before I finished explaining. She came to the house on December 3rd with soup and a face arranged for tragedy. I thought she came for me. She walked through the kitchen, saw the lemon tree dying near the window, and said, "This is what happens when homes lose warmth." I laughed once, not because it was funny, but because the alternative was breaking a plate. "Mom, she is lying, Mara, no. Listen to me, the messages are fake." She put the soup on the counter. "Your sister would not invent something this cruel." That sentence told me where I stood. Not because my mother believed Celeste, because she needed to. If Celeste was lying, then Mom had raised a daughter who could destroy a marriage for sport. If I was lying, then Mom had only raised one difficult daughter, which was a story she already knew how to tell. She touched my arm. "You have always needed control. Maybe this is the moment God is asking you to tell the truth." I asked her to leave. She cried in the driveway. A neighbor saw. By dinner, 3 relatives had texted me about respecting my mother. The old machine was running perfectly. Celeste created the flame. Mom supplied the smoke. Everyone else pointed at the burning house and asked why I smelled like fire. I hired Iris Klein on December 11th. She was recommended by a colleague who said, "If your divorce involves digital evidence, call Iris and do exactly what she says." Her office had no flowers, no inspirational signs, no bowl of candy. Just clean surfaces, thick files, and a framed quote on the wall. "Feelings are not exhibits." I told her everything. She listened without blinking. When I finished, she said, "Do you want the marriage back, or do you want the truth back?" I did not know how to answer. She nodded as if that was an answer too. "Then we start with truth." I gave her my phone, laptop, old backups, shared cloud access logs, router records, everything I had. She hired a forensic analyst named Nora Vale, a former police cyber examiner who wore purple glasses and had the calm cruelty of someone who had watched thousands of liars believe screenshots were magic. Nora's first question was not romantic. "Did anyone have access to your unlocked phone this year?" I thought of Celeste at our kitchen island in April, filming a birthday video for Mom. She had asked to use my phone because hers was dying, then disappeared to the guest room for 12 minutes. I remembered because Ethan joked she was probably taking selfies with better lighting. 12 minutes, Nora wrote it down. The report took 5 weeks. During those 5 weeks, my life narrowed to work, Iris, and the rental apartment. Ethan filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. Then his attorney floated misconduct during settlement talks. Not because Tennessee property division would become a melodrama overnight, but because shame is useful leverage. He wanted the house equity tilted his way. He wanted to keep certain investments separate. He wanted my grandmother's necklace returned to the marital residence, which made Iris raise one eyebrow so high I worried for her forehead. "Your grandmother's necklace is not marital property," she said. "He has it. For now." Celeste posted more without posting me. A photo of her hand on Ethan's arm, a video of her cooking in my old kitchen, a close-up of my lemon tree suddenly watered with the caption, "Some things bloom when loved correctly." I saw that one because Caroline from work sent it with the message, "I am coming over with wine and possibly a shovel." Caroline had known me for 9 years. She believed me before the report. She also knew belief did not stop the bleeding. Some nights I missed Ethan so much it made me angry. I missed who he had been before the screenshots. I missed his hand on the small of my back at grocery stores. I missed the way he read instructions aloud while assembling furniture. I missed the man who believed my seriousness was safety. Then I remembered him pulling his phone back from me. And the missing turned hard. Nora called on a Tuesday. "We found the pipe," she said. I was at work reviewing vendor compliance. The what? The path the fake messages took. I drove to Iris's office during lunch and sat across from both of them while Nora projected the report on a screen. It was 38 pages, device logs, metadata, carrier records, VoIP account history, screenshot creation data, app purchase traces, router timestamps, the kind of boring, beautiful proof that does not care who cries. Here is what Celeste had done. In April, while using my phone for better lighting, she had enabled message forwarding to a refurbished MacBook registered under the name C-Bell Creative. My phone sent the authorization code. She deleted the notification. It took less than 4 minutes. Over the summer, she created a VoIP number under the name Marcus Vale using an email address tied to her old influencer shop. She paid for it with a prepaid card purchased at a grocery store near her apartment. She then used the linked MacBook to create a fake thread between my number and Marcus. Because the messages were not sent through my physical phone, they never appeared in my local message history. But the forwarding logs recorded the device connection, the IP address, and the exact times. Nora clicked to the next slide. The screenshots Ethan received were not screenshots from a phone. They were exported images from the MacBook, edited, then sent to Celeste's phone before she forwarded them to Ethan. The hotel photo was a cropped image from a corporate compliance conference in Memphis. The man beside me was a 70-year-old vendor named Alan Cho. Celeste had cropped out his conference badge, his wife, and 6 other people. I sat very still as Nora spoke. "There is a strange humiliation in hearing the architecture of your own destruction explained professionally. Part of me wanted the lie to be stupid, a jealous sister with a fake account and sloppy screenshots. But Celeste had been patient. She studied the tools. She waited for emotional timing. She sent enough hints before the reveal that Ethan's doubt had somewhere to land. Iris turned one page in the printed report. There is more. Nora pulled up a payment trace. The prepaid card used for Marcus was purchased with cash, but store surveillance had a timestamp. Iris had subpoenaed it after locating the transaction. The footage showed Celeste at self-checkout buying the card, gum, and a bottle of nail polish. "That proves the account," Nora said, "but not necessarily motive." Iris slid another sheet toward me. It was an email printed in black and white. From my mother to Celeste, sent 3 days after Ethan moved out subject. "Be careful," the body read. "Do not text him too much from your phone. Let him come to you. If Mara sees pressure, she will start digging. You know how she is with records. Once he files, everything will calm down. He needs to feel like choosing you was his idea." I read it 3 times. My mother knew, maybe not every detail, maybe not the software, the MacBook, the fake Marcus account. But she knew enough to coach the lie after it worked. Iris said gently, "This changes settlement posture." I said, "It changes more than that." The divorce settlement was scheduled for February 9th. Iris requested that Ethan's attorney produce all digital evidence he intended to rely on, including original files, forwarding history, and any communications with Celeste about the alleged affair. His attorney, Mark Pell, objected. Iris sent the first 10 pages of Nora's report, not the whole thing. Just enough to make a careful lawyer sweat. Mark called Iris the next morning. I was sitting in her office when the call came through. She put it on speaker. "Iris," he said, "my client may not understand the provenance of the screenshots. Your client moved in with the provenance." Silence. Mark cleared his throat. "We should discuss a global resolution. We will. At the settlement conference. Is that necessary?" "Yes." "Iris, if there are allegations against Ms. Bell's sister, there are documents." Another silence. That was the first moment. I understood Iris was not preparing for argument. She was preparing for containment, a room where everyone who had repeated the lie would hear the report before they could scatter into separate versions. I asked her afterward, "Will this destroy him?" I meant Ethan. Iris looked at me for a long moment. "No, Mara, it will show him what he chose to believe. That is not the same thing." It felt the same to me then. Later, I understood. 2 days before the settlement, Celeste posted the necklace. Not accidentally, not in the background. A full close-up. My grandmother's garnet at her throat, her collarbone tilted toward light, Ethan's kitchen behind her. The caption said, "Some gifts find the right neck eventually." I vomited in my bathroom sink, not because of the necklace alone, because of the precision. Celeste knew where to press. She always had. If the affair lie was a knife, the necklace was the twist. I sent the photo to Iris. She replied in 4 words, "Excellent." Bring no jewelry, so I did not. On settlement morning, I entered the conference room with a bare throat and a black folder of my own notes I did not intend to open. Ethan was already there with Mark. My mother sat near the window, hands folded around a paper cup. Celeste was not there yet. Her chair was beside Ethan, of course. My mother had arranged that because she could not help staging even silence. "Mara," Mom said softly, "please come into this with Grace." I sat beside Iris. "I brought records," I said. "Grace can read along." Mark looked down to hide something, maybe a smile, maybe dread, then the door opened. Celeste walked in wearing my necklace. She had dressed for victory. Cream blazer, soft curls, nude heels, the garnet resting at the hollow of her throat like a stolen period at the end of a sentence. She placed one hand on Ethan's shoulder before sitting. He flinched slightly. I saw it. Iris saw it. Celeste did not. She smiled at me. "You look tired." I said nothing. She leaned back. "Don't worry, Mara. I'll take better care of Ethan than you did. At least I know how to stay faithful." My mother whispered, "Celeste." But she did not stop her. Celeste slid the $20 bill toward me. "Call your lover for a ride home." No one moved. Ethan stared at the table. His face was red, but he did not speak. Maybe shame had already begun. Maybe he was only embarrassed by the scene. At that moment, it did not matter. Silence is still a choice when someone you love is being publicly cut open. Iris placed her black folder on the table. "Before settlement terms," she said, "we need the record clear." Celeste laughed. "Oh, the record." Of course Mara brought homework. Iris opened the folder. The room changed. You could feel it. Like a storm front crossing glass, Iris removed the first page. Ethan's original evidence packet. The screenshots. Marcus Vale. The hotel crop. The messages that had ended my marriage. "Mr. Rowe," she said to Ethan, "you received these from Celeste Bell on October 17th, correct?" Ethan swallowed. "Yes. Did you ever see these messages on Mara's actual phone?" "No." "Did you ask to perform a joint phone extraction before leaving the marital home?" His attorney touched his arm, but Ethan answered, "No." Iris placed the second page beside the first. My phone extraction. No Marcus. No deleted Marcus. No call logs. No hotel messages. No cloud backup matching the alleged thread. Celeste rolled her eyes. She deleted them. She works in compliance. Nora, the forensic analyst, was seated quietly near the door. Iris turned to her. "Ms. Vale? Can deleted messages be recovered or inferred from backups, sync logs, and local databases?" Nora said, "Often, yes. In this case, there was no evidence the alleged thread ever existed on Mara Bell's phone." Celeste's smile thinned. "Often does not mean always." "No," Nora said. "That is why we kept going. That was the first time my sister stopped performing for me and started watching Nora." Iris removed the third page. The message forwarding log. Device added April 11th, 2025, 7:42 p.m. Device name, C. Bell Creative MacBook. IP address, Celeste's apartment router. Authorization code generated by my phone while Celeste had been in our guest room making Mom's birthday slideshow. Ethan looked at Celeste. She said, "That could be anything." Iris said, "It is a linked device receiving and sending messages associated with Mara's number." I borrowed her phone for a video. For 12 minutes, Iris said. Long enough to approve forwarding, delete the alert, and test the sync. My mother's hands tightened around her cup. Iris removed the 4th page. Marcus Vale's VoIP account. Created August 3rd. Recovery email, Celeste Bell Creative at mail. Payment card, prepaid. Store purchase, self-checkout camera still. The image showed Celeste in leggings, hair in a bun, buying the card. Celeste laughed once. It came out wrong. That is not illegal. No one said it was, Iris replied. We said it was yours. Ethan whispered, Celeste. She did not look at him. Iris placed the 5th page down. Screenshot metadata showing the images Ethan received were exported from a MacBook, altered in an editing app, then forwarded from Celeste's phone. The room was now so quiet I could hear the building's air system. Mark, Ethan's attorney, leaned back slowly. He was not a bad lawyer. I could see him realizing his client had walked into settlement holding contaminated evidence. There is a particular look lawyers get when a case begins leaking under their shoes, Iris continued. The hotel photo was represented to Mr. Rowe as evidence of Mara meeting a lover. She placed the cropped image on the table, me beside a man at a hotel bar. Then she placed the original beside it. A wide conference photo from Memphis. 15 people, name badges, sponsor banner, vendor table. The man beside me, Alan Cho, stood with his wife on his other side. Nora said, the cropped version was created from a file downloaded from the public conference gallery. The download IP matches Celeste Bell's apartment. Celeste stood. This is insane. Iris looked at her calmly. Sit down. You cannot tell me. You are not a party to the divorce, Iris said. You are a witness to fraud, defamation, and potentially evidence tampering. Sit down. Celeste sat. My mother whispered, this has gone far enough. I turned to her for the first time. It went far enough when you told her to let him think choosing her was his idea. Mom's face went blank. Iris removed the email. My mother made a small sound, the kind people make when the floor they built opens beneath them. Iris read the email aloud. Not dramatically, just words, clean and fatal. Do not text him too much from your phone. Let him come to you. If Mara sees pressure, she will start digging. You know how she is with records. Once he files, everything will calm down. He needs to feel like choosing you was his idea. Ethan's face changed sentence by sentence. Confusion, denial, recognition, shame. By the end, he looked physically smaller. Mara, he said. I did not answer. Celeste turned on Mom. Why did you write it like that? That was the moment I understood Celeste had expected my mother to be smarter. Not kinder. Smarter. The betrayal between them was not moral. It was procedural. Mom began crying. I was trying to protect this family. From what? I asked. She looked at me then, really looked, maybe for the first time in years, from losing him. The room stopped again. Him, not me, not her daughter, Ethan. My husband had become the family asset. Celeste wanted him. Mom wanted the story of Celeste being chosen. I was the obstacle with a mortgage, a necklace, and a reputation that had to be removed. Iris slid the final page across the table, a timeline. Celeste's fake account, Mom's email, Ethan's filing, Celeste's move into my house, necklace post settlement demands. At the top, in bold, coordinated deception timeline, Ethan put his face in his hands. I had imagined that moment so many times. His apology, his shock, his regret. I thought I would feel satisfaction when he finally knew. Instead, I felt tired, because truth arriving late does not undo the days it abandoned you. He looked up with wet eyes. I didn't know. I believed him. That was the worst part. He had not known the mechanics. He had not known the MacBook, the VoIP number, the edited screenshots, my mother's email. But he had known me, or he was supposed to. He knew how I spoke, how I loved, how I worked, how badly betrayal frightened me because of the house I grew up in. He knew enough to pause. He had not paused. Iris said, Mr. Rowe, your settlement position relies partly on alleged marital misconduct. Are you withdrawing those allegations? Mark answered before Ethan could. Yes, Iris looked at Mark. All of them? All of them. Any claim to Maribel's grandmother's necklace? Mark closed his eyes briefly, withdrawn. Celeste touched the garnet at her throat. Iris did not raise her voice. Take it off. Celeste stared. Iris said, now. Celeste's hand trembled as she unclasped the necklace. For one absurd second, I thought of childhood, of her tiny fingers struggling with shoelaces while I knelt in front of her. I had tied everything for her once. Shoes, hair ribbons, consequences. She placed the necklace on the table. Not in my hand. She could not do that. Iris took out a small evidence envelope, slid its necklace, sealed it, and wrote the time across the flap. Personal property returned during settlement, she said. Celeste whispered, You are enjoying this. I looked at her then. No. That is the difference between us. She flinched. Not much. Enough, my mother said. Mara, please, she is your sister. I laughed softly once. She was my sister when she stole my phone access. She was my sister when she made a fake man. She was my sister when she moved into my house. Funny how you only remembered that after the report. Mom covered her face. Ethan stood. Celeste, did you fake all of it? Celeste looked at him like he had betrayed her by needing confirmation. You were unhappy, she said. I just showed you what you already felt. There it was, the philosophy of every manipulator. I did not create the wound. I only pressed where it was soft. Ethan stepped back from her. It was small, one step, but Celeste saw it like a slap. You told me she laughed about me, he said. You believed me. You told me she said I was boring. You were. Mark stood then. I need a recess with my client. Iris said, Take it, we are not finished. They left the room, Mark, guiding Ethan into the hall. Celeste started to follow. Mark turned and said, Not you. That was the second public injury of her day. When the door closed, the room held me, Iris, Nora, Celeste, and my mother. No husband, no attorney shield. Just the original triangle, the daughter who had always carried, the daughter who had always received, and the mother who called imbalance love. Mom spoke first. I did not know she made fake messages. Iris said, Mrs. Bell, this is not confession hour. Be careful. Mom ignored her. I thought he already doubted you. I thought Celeste only had to help him see. I looked at her. You thought my marriage was a door Celeste deserved to walk through. She has been lost, and I was the map you burned to keep her warm. Mom cried then, real tears maybe. I had lost the ability to care. Celeste stood abruptly. I am leaving. Nora said, Your MacBook may be subject to preservation demand. Celeste sat back down. Ethan returned after 21 minutes. I know because I watched the clock. His eyes were red. Mark's face had the strained politeness of a man whose client had just become expensive. Mark spoke first. We are prepared to resolve on revised terms. Iris folded her hands. List them. The house would be sold, net proceeds split according to documented contributions, with my premarital down payment credited back to me. Ethan would withdraw all misconduct claims. Ethan would sign a written statement acknowledging he had relied on fabricated evidence and that he had no evidence I engaged in an affair. He would return all personal property, including the necklace, family photographs, and my grandmother's cedar box. He would pay half of Nora's forensic fee because his evidence required examination. Celeste and my mother would sign preservation acknowledgments regarding devices and communications. Celeste laughed. I am not signing anything. Iris slid one page toward her. Then we file preservation motions, and your devices become the next conference. Celeste looked at Mom. Mom did not look back. That may have been the first honest thing my mother did all day. Celeste signed. Mom signed. Ethan signed last. His hand shook so badly, Mark had to point to the correct line. When he finished, he looked at me. Mara, can we talk outside? No. One day? I looked at the man who had been my husband, then at the chair where my sister had sat wearing my necklace. No, I said. You had a day. You used it to leave. I picked up the $20 bill Celeste had slid toward me at the beginning. It was still on the table, absurd and bright, like a prop from a cheap play. I walked around the table and placed it in front of her. You will need this for a new charger, I said. The MacBook is evidence now. Iris looked down. I think she was hiding a smile. Celeste's mouth opened, but no sound came. For once, there was no script. I turned to my mother. Do not call me to explain. Do not ask relatives to call me. Do not say you were trying to protect family. You tried to replace me because loving me required believing me, and that was too inconvenient. Mom whispered my name. I did not answer. I took the sealed envelope with my necklace, my purse, and the copy of Ethan's signed statement. I walked to the door. I did not slam it. I let it close softly behind me because I wanted them to hear that I had enough control not to perform pain for them. In the hallway, I leaned against the wall and breathed once. Twice. Then I cried for exactly 3 minutes, not because I was weak. Because even when a lie dies, you still have to bury the life it destroyed. Iris found me in the hallway and stood beside me without touching me. That is one reason I loved her as a lawyer. She understood that not every collapse wants an audience. You did well, she said. I feel awful. Both can be true. Nora came out next with her laptop bag. She handed me a small USB drive, full report copy. Keep it somewhere safe. Thank you. She looked almost embarrassed by gratitude. People think screenshots are truth because they look neat, but truth is usually messy data hiding underneath. I am glad we found yours. Outside, downtown Nashville moved like nothing had happened. Delivery trucks, scooters, tourists in boots, office workers carrying salads. My marriage had just been legally dismantled, and pedestrians were still jaywalking. The world is rude that way. It refuses to pause for your endings. I sat in my car and opened the evidence envelope. The garnet lay inside, duller than it looked on Celeste, or maybe more honest. I did not put it on, not yet. I placed it in the glove compartment and rested my hands on the steering wheel until they stopped shaking. My phone buzzed. Ethan, I am so sorry. I do not know who I am right now. I deleted it. My mother. Please do not punish Celeste forever. I blocked her, Celeste. You always have to win. I typed back, no, I just stopped losing for you, then I blocked her too. The aftermath did not explode all at once. It leaked. That is how family scandals travel now. Not through one announcement, but through screenshots, vague posts, whispered updates, cousins asking careful questions, and women from church suddenly remembering they had always felt something was off. Caroline was the first person I told in full. She came over that night with Thai food and a bottle of sparkling water because she said wine felt too romantic for divorce fraud. I handed her the report. She read silently, then said, Your sister made a fake man named Marcus Vale? That sounds like a villain in a discount thriller. I laughed for the first time in months. Then I cried again, because laughter had opened the wrong door. By the next morning, Ethan had moved out of Celeste's apartment and into an extended stay hotel. I know because his sister Hannah texted me. Hannah had never liked Celeste, but had stayed out of our marriage because, in her words, Ethan is grown and determined to be stupid in private. Her message said, I read his statement. I am so sorry. You deserved a family that checked the source. That sentence stayed with me. A family that checked the source. That was all I had wanted. Not blind loyalty, not automatic defense. Just someone willing to ask, where did this come from? Before burning my life down, Ethan's apology letter arrived 9 days later. 4 pages, handwritten. He wrote that he had been insecure, that Celeste made him feel admired when I was busy with work, that he let resentment become evidence. He wrote that when she showed him the screenshots, some ugly part of him felt relieved because it meant his distance had a reason that was not his fault. That was the most honest thing he had ever written. He said he did not expect forgiveness. Then he asked if we could meet anyway. I did not answer for 3 weeks, not because I was punishing him, because I needed to separate grief from access. Missing someone is not the same as inviting them back to the table. When I finally replied, I wrote only this, Ethan, I believe your regret. I also believe what you chose when regret was not yet convenient. I am not available for repair. I hope you become someone who checks the source next time. He replied, I understand. Maybe he did. Maybe he only understood that there was no argument left. Celeste disappeared from social media for 6 days, which for her was basically witness protection. When she returned, she posted a black square with the caption, Healing from family betrayal. The comments filled with hearts. Caroline sent me a screenshot. I replied, let her have the square. I have the report. My mother's campaign took longer to die. She called from unknown numbers. She emailed. She sent a letter through Aunt Ruth. She told relatives I was weaponizing technology against my sister. She said Celeste had made mistakes because she was lonely. She said Ethan had already been emotionally gone. She said I cared more about being right than keeping family together. That last one almost worked. Not because it was true, because it was familiar. Keeping family together had been my unpaid job since 17. I knew the hours. I knew the uniform. Smile, fix, forgive, deny, repeat. But after the settlement, the job sounded different. More like a scam with a childhood soundtrack. I wrote my mother one letter, Mom. You helped Celeste continue a lie that ended my marriage. You did not ask for proof when proof would have protected me. You asked for peace only after truth protected me instead. I will not be in contact with you or Celeste. If you repeat the claim that I had an affair, Iris will send the report to whoever needs it. I hope you learn the difference between protecting a daughter and protecting a story. Mara. I mailed it certified. She signed for it. She did not reply. The house sold in May. I walked through it once before closing. Empty rooms make strange museums. The kitchen where Ethan first showed me the screenshots. The guest room where Celeste linked my messages. The hallway where Mom cried with soup in her hands. The backyard lemon tree, finally dead, because nobody who lived there afterward cared enough to bring it inside before the frost. I took the cedar box, my books, 2 chairs, and the chipped blue bowl Ethan and I bought on our honeymoon in Maine. I almost left the bowl because it hurt. Then I thought, no, pain is not a receipt of ownership. I loved it too. It came with me, in the bedroom closet. I found a shoebox Celeste had missed. Inside were old birthday cards from Ethan, a photo strip from our first anniversary, and one Polaroid of my grandmother Alice wearing the garnet necklace in 1978. On the back, in her handwriting, she had written, "Never trust a person who needs your silence to stay good." I sat on the closet floor with that photo in my lap and understood her warning 22 years late. Some inherit houses, some inherit warnings. I had inherited a warning. It took my marriage to make me listen. I moved into a small brick townhouse near Shelby Park. It had creaky stairs, good morning light, and no guest room. That last part mattered. People can stay in hotels. Emergencies can still be emergencies without my spare sheets becoming a landing pad for chaos. Caroline helped me unpack. Hannah, Ethan's sister, mailed back a box of my Christmas ornaments Celeste had taken from the house. Iris sent the final signed settlement with a note. Clean exit. Keep the report. Live beyond it. Live beyond it. That became the hard part. For months, I wanted to read the report whenever I felt doubt. Page 8 for the forwarding log. Page 14 for the VoIP account. Page 21 for the email. Proof became a railing I held while learning to walk through my own life again. Then one morning, I realized I had not opened it in 2 weeks. That felt like healing. Not dramatic, not complete. Just a little less need to keep presenting evidence to the empty room inside my head. I put the report in a fireproof safe with my passport, my grandmother's Polaroid, and the necklace. Then I went to work. Because life, blessedly and rudely, continues asking for meetings even after your sister fabricates an affair. 3 months after the settlement, Celeste was sued by Ethan. Not for love, for damages. His attorney filed claims related to fraud, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and reputational harm tied to the fake affair evidence. Iris was not involved except to send certified copies of Nora's report under subpoena. My mother called Aunt Ruth in hysterics. Aunt Ruth called me because families love outsourcing discomfort to the person who left. She could lose everything, Aunt Ruth said. What is everything? Her apartment, her savings, her reputation. I waited. Aunt Ruth sighed. You are going to say she risked yours. I do not have to say it. You just did. Aunt Ruth got quiet. Then she surprised me. I should have asked more questions when your mother told us. Yes, I said. I am sorry. That apology did not rebuild anything, but it named the crack. Sometimes naming the crack is the first honest repair a family member ever attempts. Celeste settled with Ethan privately before trial. I do not know the terms. I do know she deleted her public accounts for real afterward. No black squares, no healing captions. Just gone. Silence suited her better than I expected. My mother and I did not speak for almost a year. On my 35th birthday, a card arrived with no return address. Inside was a photograph of me and Celeste as children sitting in a plastic kiddie pool. I was 7, she was 4, both of us sunburned and laughing. On the back, Mom had written, I wish I had protected both of you differently. Differently. Not better. Not properly. Differently, I set the card on the counter and stared at it while coffee brewed. The old Mara would have called. The old Mara would have taken that one soft sentence and built a bridge out of it, plank by plank, until my mother could cross without getting her shoes wet. I did not call. I put the photo in a drawer. Not the safe, not the trash, a drawer. Some memories do not deserve destruction. They also do not deserve leadership. That is what I learned that year. You can love a version of someone and still refuse current access to the person they became. You can miss your sister at 4 years old and still block the woman who stole your husband's trust. You can understand your mother's fear and still name her betrayal. Understanding is not a pardon. I eventually put the garnet necklace back on, not for court, not for a holiday. On a Tuesday, I was getting ready for work and saw it in the safe beside the report. For months, I had treated it like evidence, then like a relic, then like a wound. That morning, it looked like jewelry again. The clasp fought me, as always. When it clicked, I cried. Not much. Just enough to acknowledge the distance between the conference room and the mirror. At work, nobody noticed except Caroline, who said Alice would approve. I touched the garnet. She would say it took me long enough. She would be right. That evening, I walked through Shelby Park until sunset. I thought about Ethan. I thought about Celeste. I thought about the fake Marcus Vale, a man who never existed but still managed to end a marriage because real people gave him power. That was the strangest part. The affair was fake. The consequences were not. Lies do not need to be true to change your life. They only need to be believed by someone whose belief matters. So choose carefully whose belief you build a home around. There is one moment from the settlement that comes back to me more than the big ones. Not Celeste removing the necklace. Not Ethan's face going white. Not my mother hearing her own email read aloud. It is a smaller moment, almost nothing. When Nora said the thread had never existed on my phone, Ethan looked at his hands. For months, those hands had held my face, then packed his shirts, then opened Celeste's door, then signed divorce papers built on a lie. They were ordinary hands. That was what hurt. Betrayal rarely looks like a monster while it is happening. It looks like someone you love choosing not to ask one more question. I think about that because it keeps me honest. Celeste built the lie, but Ethan chose speed over trust. My mother protected the lie, but relatives repeated it because it was easier than discomfort. Everyone wanted proof from me after they had already spent my reputation. That is why I keep the report, but I no longer worship it. Proof is powerful, but proof should not be the price of basic love. When I tell people this story, they sometimes ask whether the technology scared me. The forwarding logs, the fake number, the edited screenshots, yes, it scared me. But what scared me more was how quickly familiar people accepted unfamiliar cruelty, because it came packaged as evidence. A screenshot is not a soul. A text thread is not a marriage. A cropped photo is not a life. Yet one careful fraud almost outweighed years of mournings, bills, grocery lists, apologies, inside jokes, and shared grief. That taught me something I wish I had learned without losing so much. Anyone can be framed by data, but not everyone will be saved by character. Character only helps if the people around you value it more than the drama of your fall. So now I choose people differently. I choose the ones who pause. The ones who ask, where did this come from? The ones who do not enjoy the moment you look guilty. The ones who understand that loyalty is not blind defense. It is careful investigation before public judgment. Those are the people who belong at my table now. The old table had too many chairs for people who liked watching me explain. The new one is smaller. Caroline sits there. Hannah sometimes sits there. Iris came once for dinner and brought a bottle of sparkling water because she said lawyers should not arrive empty-handed. No one asks me to prove I belong. No one mistakes access for entitlement. I breathe again, fully now. Near the end of this video, I want to ask you something directly. I pinned a question in the comments. If your sister faked an affair to steal your husband, and your family helped her hide it, would you ever forgive them? Go to that pinned comment and tell me your honest opinion. I want to know what you would do in Mara's place, and if this story reached you, please like this video and subscribe to She Chose Herself. Your support helps this reach another woman being called guilty by people who never checked. The source: my sister walked into my divorce settlement wearing my anniversary necklace. She thought the necklace meant she had won. My husband thought the screenshots meant I had lost. My mother thought silence would keep the family intact. Then my lawyer opened one folder, and the phone report said what no one at that table had the courage to say. I did not cheat. I did not lie. I did not lose my name. The report did not save my marriage. It saved me from spending the rest of my life begging people to believe a truth they should have protected. And sometimes that is the better ending.